Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our feature prelim for UFC Fight Night 263. In this one, we have Kevin Christian taking on Billy Elekana. Christian is 9-2 as a professional, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Meanwhile, Elekana is 8-2 as a professional, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. For Christian, this is going to be his UFC debut. He won his contract via Contender Series last year, where he submitted Francisco Mazzeo via triangle. Before that, his last few fights on the regional scene, one of them is nearly 2 years ago, about a year and 9 months. And then after that, his next 3 fights in his last 5 are all 6 years ago. Now, the span of those 3 fights are all within a year, but it's 6 years from now, which, big hiatus before he returned back to MMA. Meanwhile, for Elekana, he's currently 1-1 in the UFC. He made his debut against Bogdan Gustav at UFC 311, where he got submitted via guillotine, but he did take that fight on short notice, so, is what it is. And, Gustav's proven to be pretty good, all things considered. As then he was able to get his first UFC win against Ibo Aslan this July, which, at least he got his first UFC win, but that was probably the worst. That might be the worst fight I've seen this year. There were some stinkers for sure. I think Volkov and Almeida is still the worst, but this is up there. And at least in terms of, you saw boring grappling, that fight was boring striking. So the biggest aspect in this fight to look at is Kevin Christian's size and reach. He's 6'7", which makes him easily the tallest light heavyweight ever in the UFC. There's not been a single fighter who is taller than that. Now, the closest we've had is Johnny Walker at 6'6", but other than that, nobody comes close to that kind of size, and especially not an 80-inch reach. You don't normally see that. Now, John Jones is the exception with that type of, reach advantage, and same with Alexander Gustafsson. But other than that, like I said, 6'7" at light heavyweight is kind of crazy. Fighting someone like Elekana, who's 6'3" with a 77-inch reach, that's like a normal size light heavyweight. In this case, he's going to be the much smaller, but the smaller man by a good few inches, and definitely going to have a reach disparity in that fight as well. Now, looking at their overall game, for Kevin Christian, he has some good long-distance striking, specifically being able to use jabs, some good leg kicks, and some high kicks, and overall keep pretty good distance, but he's not afraid to use the clinch, nor is he afraid to use close quarter strikes like elbows and knees in the clinch. And as well, Christian, I would say probably his best skill set is probably his jiu-jitsu game, or more specifically his guard. As I just said previously, Christian got his Contender Series win via triangle from the bottom. Now, I will say this, having a good guard like that at light heavyweight is pretty impressive, and it can lead to some wins. We saw that with Paul Craig when, Craig was in his prime. He had a lot of wins, and most of it was off of having a really good guard game. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities for Kevin Christian to also have an effective guard game and possibly have some success in this division, especially in a division like light heavyweight, where it's more so attributes trump skill 9 out of 10 times, unless you reach the top 15 of the division. But even then, as for Billy Elekana, he's, I would say, a jack of all trades is the best way I would put Elekana. He has some good distance striking as well. He uses a calf kick pretty effectively, and he's very good at switching stances from orthodox out to southpaw. And you saw in Elekana's debut against Gustav, he had some great moments in the striking where he was able to get Gustav down. Had his back for a good portion of the first round until Gustav reversed. Elekana does have some good grappling to him. And it's just in that debut, he got tired, and eventually Gustav saw the opportunity to snatch the gilly, which, again, it was short notice for Elekana, so there is some fairness in that. Also, I would say Elekana overall has the higher MMA experience, as he's also fought in the PFL before, not just the UFC and not just the regional scene. So I would overall say Elekana has better MMA experience. Now, there's going to be one glaring thing in this fight for me. Kevin Christian's striking defense is awful. Again, it's like similar fighters you've seen with like Sam Patterson as well as Cedricus Dumas. They have tall man's defense, and I've said it on this channel a few times, but if you haven't kind of refreshed the memory, tall man's defense is when you are a fighter has a significant height advantage against most of his opposition. So most of his defense for avoiding punches is to lean back and kind of have their arms out straight in order to not only bring in obstacles or like traffic, as it's called, so the opponent has even more stuff to try and get over in order to land a clean hit, but in order to also make an even greater distance between Christian and his opponent while his opponent is trying to connect. Thing about that is there's only so much Christian can lean back, and eventually he's going to hit the cage wall, and he won't have anywhere to move. So I can tell you this right now in Kevin Christian's career, it's not so much a question of will he get caught and knocked out, it's a question of when. I can guarantee you that. Now, the question is Billy Elekana the guy to do it? Well, I would say Elekana is overall better on the feet than Christian. Now, their overall grappling, I would probably say, is even. Like I said, Christian's got a pretty good guard game, and he's used it before, not just in Contender Series. And having such a tall and big guy, or sorry, and having such a tall, lanky light heavyweight like Christian grappling, whether it's on the bottom or on top, it can be quite aggravating. Can be quite the challenge to overcome. I've said it multiple times. When you have such a tall fighter, especially if they're on top, whether it be like mount or half guard, it's like that. It's like a spider just draping over their opponent, and they have very little room to move. Or he can easily just play the blanket, as he can literally lay on Elekana and is mostly going to cover Elekana, especially if Christian were to get full mount. But overall, I gotta think this is probably Billy Elekana's fight to lose. I do find him the superior technical striker. He doesn't make as many mistakes on the feet as Christian. And while Christian has tall man's defense, like I've said, he also doesn't have good defense in close quarters. Now, that being said, Christian's clinch game is pretty good, and he does utilize short range weapons well. But I think overall, Elekana will want to close the distance in this fight. So I think if Christian tries to implement the clinch, I think that's going to be more of a detriment than it is an advantage. For Kevin Christian, it's most likely going to be trying to keep on the outside and use his long distance striking, or specifically his like 3 safe strikes, his jab, his teep, and his leg kicks, slash honestly his overall just kicking game, leg kick, body kicks, head kicks, doesn't matter. Just that overall kicking game is one of his 3 safe strikes, and find opportunities in the grappling if this hits the mat. But I think overall, Billy Elekana's calf kicks are going to be a big thing in this fight, as he has pretty good calf kicks. You saw it with like Ibo Aslan. And, Kevin Christian does not check leg kicks. And so I think he's going to be really susceptible to them. And I think overall, Elekana's technical striking is going to be better, and it's going to allow him to close the distance better. And I would think implement his wrestling game and or just use his short range striking, whether it be short range boxing combinations or his close range Muay Thai strikes like elbows and knees. So overall, I think I'm going to pick Billy Elekana in this fight. Odds-wise for the fight, Elekana is a minus 250 to the plus 210 Christian. I just think it's the overall MMA experience for Elekana. As I said, he's fought now in the UFC, the PFL, and not just the regional scene. So he has much more MMA experience and is used to a higher level of competition. So, again, my official prediction, I'm going to go with Billy Elekana, and I'm going to pick him via TKO. I think he's going to catch Christian early in the fight, or as we go into the second as well, and eventually find the finish and get a TKO win. But with that being said, that's been my prediction this fight. If you like this video, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this prediction overall, and let me know what you think of Christian as a prospect, or do you think Elekana is going to show there's a level to this? Next up, we'll have our main card opener with Alan Nascimento taking on Cody Durden. Until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank y'all for listening. Take care.